Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is HADI. Let me give you my proposal to these motions. No one with a soul could agree in favor of factory farms, but I don't think it's helpful to hold up the worst example from a large and varied industry. With the implications, this is the norm. Banning the eating of meat is a blunt instrument, and many of the objectives you list can be reached out without resorting to it. In much of the Indonesia, agricultural land is unsuitable for growing crops, 70% of farmland in Sumatra. For example, a ban of the keeping of livestock would immediately render my country totally reliant on food imports. In many rural areas, farming is also a long-standing element of the local community. Sweeping in with bans would be a terrible blow culturally, economically, and emotionally. Shifting from an omnivorous diet to a vegetarian one, suddenly and on a massive scale, would also create enormous pressure. Further down, the supply chains think of the ballooning of the avocado industry, which has seen plantation-style farms spring up on deforested land in countries not like in Kalimantan or Borneo. And intensive arable farming is terrible for biodiversity, resulting in huge swathes of monocultural lands. In contrast, pasture land for non-intensive grazing is often rich in wildflower species and the insects that go with them. A mass and abrupt change of diet is received for ill though of arable farming practice. As suppliers race to meet demand, sudden changes tend to benefit huge companies which have the resource and manpower to adapt over the small-scale producer. The crucial point is that animal welfare and environmental standards should be established, respected, and policed. Avocados and other vegetables and grains have potential to be farmed sustainably, so does meat. These are all good points, and I suspect we share some common ground. Briefly, intensive farming of animals makes me, and I think most people, deeply uncomfortable. If we are to keep animals for their meat, it is important to treat them with dignity. I know a number of people who I would call crafters, but you might call it homesteaders, who keep animals privately as you describe. A spending animal is skill, hard work, and take years for people to learn. Those who don't know what they are doing can treat animal badly due to their lack of knowledge, so it's important it is done well. This is why lately more than one of these friends has begun to sell their meat because now they are experienced and have specialist facilities. Doesn't make it sense for them to raise animal for other people to those who don't have the knowledge or access to land? Yeah, I think this is questions. If we implemented your ban on meat sales, we would find ourselves in strange circumstances. Urban populations would be confined to restricted diets while their country cousins ate roast beef whenever they please. Given the demographics of the average Indonesian farmer or crofter, there are obvious class and race issues here. It is not a fair proposal on the border ethical issue of eating meat at all. Hear me out. I wrestle myself over my hunger for meat. It is source of moral anxiety. Yes, it is possible to live as a vegetarian, even vegan lifestyle, but it makes me uneasy. This is distancing from our animal natures. I feel at my core that I'm an omnivore. I crave meat, and during past period of vegetarianism, I have lapsed, suffered from anemia, and feel dissatisfied. One can take iron supplements, plant meals for complete protein, and so on, but it felt like a complicated response to an uncomplicated problem. I don't judge dog for eating meats, nor gulls, nor bears, nor rats. I can't judge humans either. I agree a ban would have unintended consequences, likely negative. I'm intrigued by your lab-grown meat plan, though I'm not sure I'm ready to embrace this high-tech alternative quite yet. There is something slightly uncanny, even dystopian, about the idea. I've had it hammered into me that we should avoid process of food to the greatest extent we can. I would find it difficult to accept something produced entirely in a lab as a healthy, attractive options. The idea of makes me rather crazy, but then so did liver, and I learned to love that. I'm a product of my times, I guess, so perhaps your plan might offer us a rude compromise, while I can imagine lab slabs in a place of drumsticks. I think I can see some place for artificial meat in our future. It might stand in for the meat in things like chicken nuggets or burgers, say dishes in which the cut of meat is not important and where budget is key concern. Grass-fed beef is all very well, but I admit it might be overkill for a late-night kebab, and many of the problems of the meat industry, as I see it, are tightly linked to those palm-high production, like a turkey with Twizzler, the chicken dippers, and that many of us, myself included, pick up unthinkingly as cheap comfort food without considering the supply chain. I don't believe that it's wrong for us to eat meat, nor for farmers to produce meat commercially within the proviso that we need strong oversight of animal welfare. But producing animal flesh on enormous scale for as little money as possible, only to liquidize and fry it in butter, perhaps there's something dystopian in that too. So that's why I go against these motions. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.